XRP will vanish overnight. And if that sounds insane, good. Because what you're about to hear is exactly why some insiders believe the disappearance of XRP from public view could be the single event that sends its price into an uncontrollable explosion. And almost nobody in mainstream crypto is talking about it. So welcome back to XRP Insider Network, the channel where we decode what's really happening behind the headlines, expose the signals others ignore, and connect the dots Wall Street doesn't want retail to see. And before we go any further, smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because this story is moving fast, and you do not want to miss the next development. Now let's be clear right up front. This is not financial advice. This is analysis, speculation, and interpretation based on public information, historical patterns, and emerging signals. But here's the shocking idea, circulating quietly in back channels. XRP doesn't need to be everywhere to be valuable. In fact, some argue XRP becomes exponentially more valuable when it's nowhere at all, at least nowhere that retail can easily access. And to understand this, you have to flip your entire mental model of how price works in crypto. Most people assume visibility, hype, exchange listings, and constant trading volume are what drive price. But that's a retail market mindset. Institutional markets operate on a completely different logic. Scarcity, control, certainty, and settlement efficiency matter far more than speculation. And XRP was never designed to be a meme coin, a day trader casino chip, or a hype-driven asset. It was designed as infrastructure, plumbing, rails, something that works quietly in the background of the global financial system. And here's where the XRP vanishing overnight theory comes in. Imagine waking up one day and realizing that XRP has been delisted, restricted, or functionally removed from most retail-facing exchanges. No flashy announcements, no panic-inducing headlines, just a slow, procedural tightening of access under the guise of regulation, compliance, or market restructuring. Most people would see that as catastrophic. They'd say, XRP is dead, liquidity is gone, it's over. But history suggests the opposite may be true when an asset transitions from speculative playground to institutional-grade settlement layer. Think about gold. The moment gold ownership became restricted or heavily regulated in the past, did it become worthless, or did it become more powerful as a monetary instrument behind the scenes? Price didn't collapse because demand vanished. It restructured because the type of demand changed, and XRP may be approaching a similar inflection point, especially as global regulators, central banks, and payment networks push for faster, cheaper, and more transparent cross-border settlement. Now here's the part that really makes people uncomfortable. XRP's price has arguably been suppressed by its very availability. Endless trading pairs, constant arbitrage, bots, leverage, derivatives, and speculative churn keep price locked into a narrow range because the asset is treated like a toy rather than a tool. But what happens when that toy is taken away from the playground and handed exclusively to engineers, banks, and sovereign-level systems? Suddenly the price no longer reflects retail sentiment. It reflects necessity, and necessity has no ceiling. Insiders have long whispered that true XRP adoption would look boring, quiet, almost invisible to the average person. No parabolic candles every week, no influencer hype cycles, just steady integration into systems that move trillions of dollars. And here's the chilling thought. If XRP is used as a neutral bridge asset at scale, even a relatively small percentage of global settlement volume would mathematically require prices far higher than what we see today simply to function without liquidity bottlenecks. And that's where Now let's dig deeper into the mechanics of why XRP vanishing could ignite a price explosion. Because this isn't magic and it isn't conspiracy. It's supply, demand, and system design. XRP has a fixed supply. That part everyone knows. But what's less discussed is effective circulating supply, meaning how much XRP is actually available at any given moment to satisfy transactional demand, speculation demand, and settlement demand combined. When XRP is freely traded everywhere, effective supply feels infinite because it's constantly recycled through exchanges. But when access tightens, even slightly, effective supply collapses. And when you overlay that with rising utility demand, you get a pressure cooker. Institutions don't care about your average entry price. They care about certainty of settlement. And if XRP becomes embedded in corridors handling billions per day, the system must bid higher prices to ensure enough liquidity is available instantly. That's not bullish narrative. That's operational necessity. And this is why some analysts believe XRP's true price discovery event will not look like a typical bull run. It will look like a step function repricing, where the asset jumps to a new range and never looks back, leaving most retail participants shocked and sidelined. And here's another uncomfortable truth. Regulators don't need XRP to be popular. They need it to be predictable, compliant, and controllable, which is why the idea of XRP being everywhere on retail apps may actually conflict with its endgame. Fewer access points mean fewer variables, fewer bad actors, and more confidence for large-scale adoption. And when that happens, speculation doesn't disappear. It just moves upstream into derivatives, structured products, and institutional balance sheets, far away from the average trader. And if you think that sounds unfair, remember, that's exactly how every mature financial asset works. The public sees the aftermath, not the accumulation phase. And we may be sitting at the edge of that transition right now, with regulatory clarity acting not as a green light for hype, but as a gatekeeper for utility. Now zoom out even further. Global finance is under strain. Legacy systems are slow, fragmented, expensive, and politically constrained. Neutral bridge assets are no longer optional. They're inevitable. And XRP has spent years being positioned, tested, attacked, and refined under the harshest spotlight in crypto, which ironically makes it one of the most battle-hardened assets in existence. If it survives regulatory war, it emerges standardized. And standardized assets don't moon on vibes, they reprice on usage. And that's why the idea of XRP vanishing overnight is so powerful, because it forces you to ask, what if the moment everyone thinks it's over is actually the moment it's finally ready? What if the quiet period is not suppression, but calibration? And what if the explosion doesn't come with fireworks, but with silence followed by disbelief, price gaps, and headlines scrambling to explain what just happened? By the time the narrative flips, access may already be gone, positioning already locked, and the opportunity window closed. And that's why staying informed matters more than staying entertained, which is exactly why you're here on XRP Insider Network, decoding signals before they become obvious, connecting dots before they're drawn for the masses. So again, not financial advice. Do your own research. Question everything, including this video. But don't ignore the possibility that XRP's disappearance from the spotlight could be the very thing that lights the fuse. Because in markets, what looks like an ending is often just a transition, and what looks like silence is often the loudest signal of all.